Good morning. It is September 11th, 2019. 18 years ago on this date, a devastating monstrosity happened in the city that never sleeps. The World Trade Centers were attacked, and all of a sudden, the country became one that was unified unlike anything in its past. Whenever something terrible happens, not only in your personal life, not only in your business life, but when something terrible happens to an entire country or an entire nation, it really puts everything into perspective. Somehow, we normally find our best selves in those moments. September 11th should never be forgotten because a lot of great humans from all over the world lost their lives that day. A lot of great humans showcased an incredible ability to have courage to run into the face of fear instead of the opposite direction. The fire departments in New York and New Jersey and from all over the country that flooded into New York City to try to make everything right. The police officers, the military, the men and women who signed up the day it happened to say this will never happen again. That'll never be forgotten by any of us. I was sitting in computer class at my high school, hanging out with my friends, trying to get my words per minute up, and all of a sudden on the screen, devastation. It was terrible. But I think what also should be remembered is in the days that followed September 11th, 2001, there was this incredible sense of unity. Biases and grudges seemed to disappear. And I don't think until years later, or maybe months later, did everything really start splitting us up. In those moments where we were together on September 12th and September 13th, 2001, I learned a lot that there is much more good in the world than bad. I think 10,000-fold. And I think in the end, the good will always win over the bad. I believe love will always triumph over hate. And every single year on September 11th, I try to remember that. So although this day is known as this generation's D-Day by a lot of people in the military and a lot of people that speak about situations like this, I also do believe it's a day that marks when our country showed the best of us before everything kind of went to hell. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people will talk about it. But I'll never forget those days after September 11th. And I hope we can one day make the entire world come together like that and be happy and kind to each other every single day. With that being said, we will do everything we can to honor the people that died that day, that passed away that day, that have done everything right in the world and just fell on bad times. And we're going to try to deliver the most entertaining show in the history of live radio and live internet. You're listening on Westwood One radio stations across the country. We thank you for it. Whether you're in a truck or a car, or if you're watching at home around the world, you could be in Canada, you could be in Italy, you could be the Pope. What we're going to try to do for the next 2 hours is deliver some happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Let's get to it. Foxy, play some Chase Rise.
It's the perfect occasion for a little vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
That's a banger. Chase Rice makes a banger right there. Thanks to him. Welcome to the Pat McAfee Show live from Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't know if all of the humans in Indianapolis, Indiana are happy that we represent them to a lot of the people, but here we are. I'm joined by a great group of individuals: Todd, Diggs, Nick, Foxy, Zito, Ty, executive producer from DAZN, Logan Swaim, I believe is how you say his last name, and Gumpy taking your phone calls, 1-833-622-3331. That is 1-833-McAfee-1. We have a nice wide open Wednesday here. Clinton Portis will join us at 10:45. Can't wait to chat with him about everything. It just came out that I guess he was incredibly hungover on Hennessy the last game of his rookie year. And Shannon Sharp, I guess, told him he had to play because he was thinking about saying he was sick and he couldn't play after a $20,000 bar tab on Friday night. Can't wait to chat with him. That man has almost rushed for 10,000 yards in the NFL. Never gets talked about. And if you've ever seen him in his post game, he has an incredible personality. Should be a great conversation. We'll be taking a lot of calls. We'll be taking your questions on the Twitter machine. Hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live. We appreciate you so much. Last night, the internet was abuzz yet again. I actually talked to Matt Hasselbeck, who I'll be calling Friday night's UNC Wake Forest game in Winston-Salem there, the Demon Deacons' hometown, 6 o'clock start on ESPN. Matt Hasselbeck and I had our pregame conversation. And our pregame conversation, by the way, is normally him telling me everything I should know for the game. I called into a production meeting yesterday about 23 minutes late, had no idea why I was calling into that. I had no idea what the meeting was about. It immediately was my time to talk. And I think that's exactly what the ESPN folks had predicted. But honestly, the studio we're currently in is all but burning down around us. The fact that we get on the air every single day is almost the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like you're hot wiring a car. You know what I mean? Like the studio all got built within 144 hours probably before our launch. Everything kind of came to be, mostly because I decided I want to go back and try to kick for the Chicago Bears. I kind of delayed everything. And then there was a lot of negotiations over 1 word or 2 words when you're dealing with these big companies. So everything kind of got pushed back to the final minute. And it really came down to the final minutes almost before live on Monday.
Literally.
So now we've been kind of dealing with that, and we're kind of hot wiring the car. So the phones kind of work. Gumpy's trying to figure that out. We can't do a lot of things, but it'll all get fixed. Very thankful for all that. So I missed the first 20 minutes of the call. Hasselbeck wanted to call me later and say, hey, this is what you missed, right? And he's a professor now up at Boston College. He's doing sports media class. Professor Hasselbeck.
Distinguished. Prestigious.
Hey, he's
job.
getting paid too. Like, I think they're really paying him. Yeah. It's him and another professor. I think there's like a real, kind of like me and him in the broadcast booth. Like there's a real one and then there's a fake one. Like I'm the fake one, he's the real one. Like in that professor thing, he has like a real professor helping him out. And then there's him.
He's a TA.
He's kind of like the fun guy, you know. Hey, no homework, you know, that whole thing. But anyways, he called me and he said, midway through my first class, last night was his first class, he said he thought he was really doing well. He prepared. He was delivering this incredible speech. He said every single student stopped looking at him and just looked down at their phone. And I was like, did you learn what it was? He was like, as soon as I got out, I heard Antonio Brown back in the news again. And this time, it is something that is absolutely despicable, right? This is a disgusting thing that has been accused of Antonio Brown. And I think as a society, we've been in a couple different stages. Years ago, whenever things like this would happen, automatically person's guilty. If they do that, if they're even accused of something, all of a sudden life's over, right?
Sure.
Even with Antonio Brown, who might be the most hated man in sports right now, right? Pittsburgh hated him before when he went to Oakland. Oakland hated him. Then he ends up in New England, which is the most hated franchise in the history of sports probably at the moment. I mean, the Yankees were hated there for a long time. The Lakers were hated for a long time. Now it's the Patriots because whenever you're great, when you're at the top of the mountain, people like to throw rocks at shiny things. Correct. Taylor Swift said that. So Antonio Brown has become the most hated athlete. I think that is probably safe to say here over the last couple weeks. So when this gets put on top of it, it's hard not to just be like, this guy, get the hell out of here. But the internet was such a buzz because this was a PR battle last night. Yeah. It was his team was releasing things, her team was releasing things, and I'm going to say this, and this isn't really our type of stuff to talk about, mostly because I'm not a judge. I was not there. I don't know him personally. I don't know her personally. I will say this, and I think I echo a lot of people's sentiments here. If he did it, I hope he gets life sentence in jail. He abused his power. He took advantage of somebody that didn't deserve to be taken advantage of. It's a disgusting thing. If he didn't do it, though, and this is a false accusation attempting to either extort him or ruin his life, I hope the same type of thing happens on the other side as well. This is a disgusting situation, though. I hope there is real justice, which I do have faith here in the American justice system. Not that I think you should, by the way, with the more and more information that comes out. I don't think that is certain. But I was on a team, the Indianapolis Colts, and this happened to a kid named Josh McNary. Josh McNary went to the Army. He had to serve for 2 years. He was a great football player at Army. He served in the military, and then he came to the Indianapolis Colts. By all accounts, everybody that knew him, good guy, quiet guy, didn't talk to anybody, freak athlete, was a big-time special teamer. I do a lot of work with the military. He was on special teams. He and I were pretty close, I think. He wasn't a big talker, but I think I could say hey, he was my friend. Right before the playoffs, he's finally hitting a groove, getting a lot of playing time, making money. He gets accused of sexual assault here in Indianapolis. Immediately goes on the commissioner's exemption list, immediately gets taken off the team, immediately gets suspended without pay, immediately everything. The only thing you ever hear of this guy basically is this sexual accusation. And I was told, and the team was told, hey, we don't know the details of this. So if you get asked about this by the media, you just say, hey, you know more than we do to the media, right? That's what we were told to say. But me being a friend of Josh McNary, knowing Josh McNary, this man was in the military. This guy had been nothing but a saint literally in the Colts facility. He had done a lot for me. And the Colts never really had me talk to the media unless it was something massive and they just threw me on the edge of the cliff, basically. So Michael Sam doesn't get drafted to the NFL or gets drafted late to the NFL. The big talking point is, will he be able to fit in because he just so happens to like men instead of women in an NFL locker room? And the Colts were like, Pat, you'll go speak about Michael Sam for the Indianapolis Colts, right? I'm like, yeah, I'll go talk about it. They're like, this is what you can't say. I was like, no, I'll just answer it how who gives a damn what that guy does behind closed doors or who he cares about? There's probably people in his locker room that pee on each other. I mean, they're like, don't say that. Don't say that. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm just saying, who cares? But that was really the only time the Colts, I ever really talked to the media was when there was a chance for me to be on the edge of a cliff. And I think it was because they knew they couldn't trade me or cut me because Jim Irsay liked me. They knew I was too good. I think they were just hoping that you put me on the edge of the cliff, I'll say something and I'll just commit career suicide. So this particular situation happened with McNary, and I said exactly what I just said. I said, if Josh McNary did this, I hope he gets the maximum punishment, life sentence. I'm disgusted by it. I will never talk good about that man again because this is a disgusting thing. And on the flip side, though, if this was a false accusation, I would like you guys to report this just as much so this man's life isn't completely ruined forever. And 8 months later, Josh McNary was completely, what's the word? Exonerated, found innocent, went to trial, the whole thing. That there was a lie between a cop, thanks Todd, and
You're welcome.
And the accuser. There was an entire relationship, but he was completely innocent. But right now, if you search his name, I think the only thing that pops up is accused of sexual assault because it's the big headlines. So for Josh McNary, it kind of changed the way I view everything. Because I used to be like, well, if you accuse, you probably did it. I mean, that's how I always thought.
Sure.
But watching Josh McNary's life basically completely take a turn in a fashion after he's done everything right, it seems like, in this particular situation, I think it's one of those things where I am much more patient now. I'm much more like, okay, I'm excited to hear both sides come out about this. But Antonio Brown's drama and distraction to the game and distraction to what he does on a football field somehow just amplified. And there's no way the Patriots had any idea that this was coming. There's no way. And I don't know how that stayed under wraps for so long. I have no idea how, because the Patriots traded away Demaryius Thomas for Antonio Brown. Everybody, myself included, when I was like, he's going to end up at the Patriots. This is what the Patriots do. They take people who are kind of squares and fit them in a circle. They can kind of bring everybody together. I thought that would happen, but there's no way the Patriots, if they knew this was coming, would have done that. And I don't know how long it's going to take. I assume courts take a long time. This could be lingering over his head, the Patriots' head, and the NFL's head for a long time. And like I said, if he did it, send him to prison forever.
No, the Patriots definitely would not have signed him. Is it shady of him and Rosenhaus, since I assume they knew for a while that this was probably coming, that they don't tell teams about this?
Hey, isn't this interesting, though? Steve Weatherford, you might know him as being the most fit man on planet Earth. If you follow him on Instagram or Snapchat, I think he's on TikTok, Twitter, you name it. He's his own little media empire. And he works out all day, every day. He's an inspiring individual. I mean, I wake up, look at his stuff, and feel terrible about myself. But it makes me be like, you know what? I wish I could do better. He was a punter in the NFL for a long time, Super Bowl champion, has a couple Super Bowl records for punting. I mean, just all-around good guy. He's been listening to the show, so I thank him. A lot of people have been, by the way. Probably the Pope.
Probably.
Haven't talked about that. Probably the Pope. God bless you, Pope. Respect everything you're doing over there in Italy. But he sent me a text yesterday in a group thread. And it was me, Steve Weatherford, and Drew Rosenhaus in the group text. Oh. And Steve Weatherford, instead of texting, he did a selfie video. And it was a 1.5-minute selfie video that was basically like, hey, Drew, this is Pat McAfee. He's got a new show. I was wondering if there's any way you would potentially go on the show. I think the conversation that Pat and you will have is one that people would like to hear. I was like, Steve, like,
he's your booker now.
Thank you so much. Like booking for me, this type of thing. So I was like, thank you so much, Steve. So I'd lost Drew's number over the year. I don't know if I deleted it or what happened, but I used to have it. He repped me for like a week and a half, Drew Rosenhaus. I was too small. We'll talk about that later, especially with LeBron's agent getting into the NFL world. I don't think it's as much money in the agency world as people think. So especially in the NFL when you can only take 3%. So I sent him a text outside of the group thread. I'm like, hey, Drew, very much understand you're a busy man. If you find some time in the 10 to 12 hour Eastern Standard Time, would love to chit chat with you about this whole thing. And he was very much like, I don't know my schedule. I'll get back to you later. And then like later I was like, hey man, just if it's a no big deal. Just let me know. He was like, yeah, let me figure some things out. And then like 20 minutes later it hit. I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to go on a show either. I wouldn't want to go. But so it is interesting though. Like, did Drew know it was coming? And was that ever mentioned, or was there so much other stuff going on there? Like, he recorded Gruden, but that's nowhere near what is potentially coming.
Well, I have a question for you about signing along those lines. Is there a put your cards on the table moment when you sign? Like, hey, is there anything we need to know about?
Negotiations are negotiations. And you got to remember, the NFL are the best negotiators on earth. They're better than that Pawn Stars guy. That's why the CBA is the way it is. That's why it's so NFL heavily favored. And those negotiations happen between agents and lead counsels of NFL teams. And these are probably the best lawyers on earth, right? The NFL actually like scouts and recruits these lawyers, I think. So it's always war in those negotiations.
So
it's
there's
always
never a moment where they say, hey, before we sign you, we need to know if there's any kind of criminal or civil actions pending in your life right
maybe
now.
Criminal, but I don't know about civil.
And that's public
because this is civil.
Yeah, that's what makes this so interesting.
Well, not until it's filed.
No, I'm saying that's if it was already criminal, it probably would have been public knowledge. Like, it would have come out already.
Well, or you could be investigated. And
or the NFL's lead counsel. I would assume they might know. Well, we don't know about that, though, because the NFL, I don't know. I don't think there is anything, though, where you have to. Now, granted, I've never been in this situation.
Right.
I don't think I've really known anybody that's been in this situation. I think he's negotiated two $30 million contracts with two different NFL teams while this was all cooking. And that's outrageous to think about. That is insanity. But I don't know how this all plays out for Antonio Brown. I don't know how this all plays out for the Patriots. And to be honest, this is just this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing that Antonio Brown has been a part of. And it's been a long list of distractions for Antonio Brown here. And if he did it, by the way, send him to prison forever. You have to. Really. You have to do it.
Well, it's civil action, but yeah.
So what's that mean?
Just money.
I think I watched Dateline. Saw it on Dateline one time. There was a civil suit for a wrongful death, but the DA sat in on the civil suit, the whole thing, found that there was enough evidence, and then pressed charges afterwards.
Which can happen. The difference is civil action, it's by preponderance of the evidence instead of beyond reasonable doubt. So if you lose the civil suit, it's because the jury or judge said, well, it's more likely that you did that than you didn't. 51% at least.
So
on the side,
but in a criminal, it has to
supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So a reasonable person would be without doubt that you did that.
Todd McComas, by the way, 21 years state police detective, has been in court a lot, has had to speak in front of judges for a lot of things. This is something that's literally right in your wheelhouse. But I assume anytime you think about it or talk about it, it disgusts you, because this type of thing shows the worst in mankind.
It's not good for anybody.
This is the worst thing in mankind. If he did it, it's terrible. If he didn't, it's terrible, because this is it's just a bad situation. Lose. And I mean, to be honest, we have to talk about this because it's such a thing. But man, I just want to talk about football.
I know, like, why did this? You just hate like it even has to be discussed.
This is just like what I said in my open there about September 11th. I hope there is a day that I am alive. Probably not going to happen because I'm going to die young.
Right.
Probably not going to happen because I die young.
Right.
Because in West Virginia, I just completely abused every part of my body. I mean, I got out 2 loans worth $40,000 just to party. I mean, it's just not good, right? I'm going to die young, so I won't be able to see it, I don't think, unless it kind of gets expedited. But it'd be cool if we just lived in a world where everybody did everybody right.
Yeah. Or we could at least get through our first week of radio without a story like this. That
Well,
would be nice.
and it would also be be pretty cool to get through our first week of radio with our phones working, or with maybe going to commercial break, or Ty being able to talk to the producer in Culver City without it going through the air. But we're bobbing and weaving.
That's what we do.
1-833-622-3331. It's 10:21 on September 11th. Clinton Portis coming at 10:45. Odell Beckham Jr. says that watch incident was only an incident because it was Odell Beckham Jr. involved.
Oh.
Quite a narcissistic look at the whole thing. We'll dive into it on the other side of the break. You're listening to Hold on, before we go. What is this?
Oh, this is Pool Cue Smash. Funky 1970s West Coast rock.
It's what you want to do when you're playing it is just take a pull cue and smash the stereo.
Do you vet these songs, or are you just kind of shuffling and just pressing
I
buttons?
think we're just rolling with the dice here which is actually the name of the song we'll come back with.
September 11th, 10:22. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
It's what is this called? Audio Network. Yeah.
It is unbelievable, this music.
Oh yeah, it's as basic as you can get.
How the thought of what is it, $3
Yep, that's it.
million we have to pay to get real music? Man, we just been stealing that shit on our podcast for so long.
Well, it's because you guys have all the licenses, right? If we were just on Westwood, we could play anything.
Yeah, because the radio stations, I can't hear that guy, by the way. Beautifully set up. Relay the message to him.
He can hear you.
Oh, it's great.
There we go.
Hey, I'm happy you can, man. Everybody on the internet can hear us right now, too, because we can't mute the mics and talk to the guy.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's anarchy.
Do you want a question, Pat?
Yeah, let's do it. Hashtag Pat McAfee Show Live. Our Canadian friend Gumpy will scan through and find any good questions for commercial breaks.
This one might be for me a little bit, too.
Oh, what a selfish decision.
Mark Minton asks, I know you're a huge football guy, but your roots start with soccer. Who's your favorite player?
Okay, Ruud van Nistelrooy was my guy growing up because he was just like a lazy goal scorer, which I kind of modeled my game after. But I also like Thierry Henry a lot. Zizou, I thought he was a savage. I played against a couple French teams growing up, played in France. Caught some cleats right to the chest after scoring an early goal. So I had a little respect for French soccer players after that, so I got her behind Zizou and Thierry. But other than that, I don't watch a lot of stuff. I like David Beckham just because he's really attractive and he had a strong leg.
So attractive.
He really is.
Yeah.
And all those tats, too. Like in the way he dresses, you know?
Great, unbelievable dresser. When he was at the royal wedding, he was undefeated.
The Rock always is my mic, by the way, not working, or is that my headphones that are just
It's
breaking?
Headphones.
probably your headphones because your mic sounds good.
I hear you great.
Like even when I was doing speaking earlier, it sounded like I was breaking up. That's not the case.
Really? No, you're
No, you
not.
sound
You sound
good and
good.
nice.
Do you put new batteries in there?
By the way, good product placement.
We did put new batteries in there.
Buy your mug now.
By the way, you were talking about the days after
Yeah.
9/11.
Yeah.
George W.'s first pitch.
Oh,
and
dude.
Then the national anthems for when the NFL
The
retired.
New York teams too.
I had a lot of people tweeting me that were like, "Oh, the biases were gone. Oh, how do you think Muslim people were treated?" It was like, I think the first couple days. I don't think that happened until weeks. Like,
Well, because no one knew what happened.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm specifically speaking about the days directly after September 11th. It was just like, it was almost like the whole world was having like a cookout together. All of America was having a cookout together, you know? And because whenever something gets put into perspective, you kind of check everything. You're like, you know what? Could die at any given time.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
at any given time.
It was a real kumbaya moment. You know what I mean?
I got some millennial that's 12 years old that wasn't even alive then, tweeting me, "Oh, what a warped view."
Also, George Bush threw that pitch like 97 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Hey, look at
Burned
that
one.
release, by
Yeah.
the way.
Right
Through the
release.
gas.
And then walked it off with so much swagger.
Was he?
Oh, he's the best.
He was warming up in the back, right? They said
yeah.
they had like
Yeah.
videos of him warming up.
Threw 100 pitches.
He's
I
a
think.
good player in college.
Listen, I have no idea about politics,
10 seconds.
but when he says we will not allow terrorists to defeat us, now watch me hit this drive.
Top 5 clips of all time.
Are we live?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. A lot of things happening over here in the studio. We have no idea when we're live on the radio, no idea when we're live on the internet, but we're just rolling with it. Thank you so much for listening, no matter where you're listening from. We might have been just picked up in your town, by the way, by the Westwood One sports station there. So first of all, thank you so much for getting us on the air.
Hey.
And second of all, if you're mad because you listen to another show, there are a lot of very similar sports shows across every radio channel. So whoever we replaced, I would assume you could find a very similar show just somewhere else.
Agreed.
And I don't feel bad. I want to let everybody know I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all because there's not a lot of shows where you can just get Aaron Rodgers talking about his friendship with Brett Favre and then falling out and then getting back into it. And that's what our job is. Our job is just to deliver a good show. And if there's a couple casualties, I'm sorry, pal.
Not your choice.
No, I'm
what
so
happens.
sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And if you don't like it, like you're in a car, there's one volume button, and then on the other one there's like a tune one. Just go somewhere else, which is probably not supposed to say as we're trying to build this up. Odell Beckham Jr. It seems like it's been even more so now. Big personalities really dominating everything. And I think it's because the social media world, the power to voice your own thing. But this watch thing is wild to me. I said this yesterday. Since Little League, you're not allowed to wear a watch. Like, literally not allowed to wear a watch. Everybody had that one friend that always wore a watch. You're like, why are you wearing a watch? You're 6 years old. Like, you don't even know what time it is, but you get on a soccer field. You get on a Little League football field. You do anything. The refs, the coaches, the team, everybody just goes, hey, got to take that watch off. You look like a nerd, but also you're potentially going to scratch me while I'm standing next to you.
Yeah, I don't want any welts on my face.
Yeah, excuse me, you had a piece of metal over there.
The face breaks, it's in your eye.
Yeah, anything like that. And I just assumed that the NFL had the same rules because you didn't really see a lot of people wearing watches. But now Odell's like, oh, if it wasn't Odell Beckham, they wouldn't care about this. My take is this. I don't think anybody other than Odell Beckham is wearing watches on an NFL field.
Correct.
I don't think you're going to just see. Now, Reggie Wayne used to wear it during practice. He used to wear a watch during practice. And I don't know what it was for. I'm assuming it was some conditioning cardio thing. I assume it did serve some purpose for Reggie Wayne, who is one of the hardest working humans I've ever watched work. Never talked to him while we were on the same team together. Got a chance to talk last year at the draft. Good guy, hard worker. He wore a watch during practice, not during the games, though. I don't think there's any other player that would be like, you know what, I'm going to put $350,000 watch on and I'm going to go play football with it. I just don't think there's anybody like that.
I don't understand the point.
What is the point?
It's the point is only to show off that you can afford that type of watch.
But we already know you can afford it. You're
You're Odell Beckham Jr. We literally know exactly what you signed for, which is, by the way, professional athletics is the only profession where you know exactly how much everybody's making. That's why the shot is always like, oh, cops are making blah, 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 and teachers are making blah, blah, blah. You're getting paid millions of dollars to kick a ball. I'm like, well, let's start filling up stadiums for those teachers to teach in front of. And let's get some. You should see, if you think what I'm making is crazy, you should see what Kenny Chesney's making. I mean, you don't even know that, but it's like one of those situations. What's up?
I think the Browns are really trying to spin the narrative that it's them against the world.
Well, I think any big personality normally has that. If it's a chip on the shoulder type team, which, by the way, Baker Mayfield is. Baker Mayfield has been knocked down and got up before. He got speared by a cop and then won a Heisman just shortly after that, right? Jarvis Landry, very big chip on his shoulder. I mean, if you watch Hard Knocks for 2 minutes whenever the Browns were on there, you're like, oh, this guy's a guy. Odell Beckham Jr., I assume he feels as if the world's against it because in New York, he was made out to be the villain even though he's the best player. A lot of distractions. I mean, he did a lot of things. He did this, he did that. He kicked the thing, he hit the thing, he proposed to a net. I mean, he did a lot of stuff. But he is an electric figure. A lot of people like. I just think this is so outlandish. Who gives? Hey, Odell, everybody knows you can't wear a watch during actual competition. Everybody knows it. It's just like Antonio Brown. Everybody knows if you miss mandatory things, you're going to get fined. Now, granted, we don't know the inside story there. Did Mike Mayock and Antonio talk about it? I don't know. We always have to preface with that. But these are all things that are just very standard that everybody, the roughing the kicker against Houston, everybody knows the rules. Can't do it. These are just things that everybody knows. So whenever it's made a big deal, I'm always just like, okay, shut up. He's got to be making so much money off of this watch company.
He has to. I know what they're saying, what he's saying about it, and that he's not. But there's maybe his cousin is an investor in the company. There's some kind of financial motivation behind this.
I would assume. I mean, because he said it wasn't an ad, right? Didn't he?
Yes.
He said it wasn't an ad?
Correct.
The IRS plays no games.
Right.
You don't put hashtag ad next to something, they're going to come get their cash. You're probably going to go to jail for it. I mean, the Kardashians, you're trying to send the Kardashians to jail for it, which I think the world may be happier if that did happen. But it's something like if he had hashtag ad on his arm sleeve and then that watch, like I could see how this is a big problem. But now that it's happened and that name of that watch, which I couldn't tell you what it is right now, but I'm assuming a lot of people have heard about it. They're probably sending him 6, 7, 8 watches. Oh, here's another orange watch you could put on, Bub. He has $2 million worth of watches. Needs to get a good security system. Somebody's coming in there to get that thing.
The reason why I don't think this is an ad is because it's $200,000 watch. Have you ever seen a Bentley commercial on TV? No, because you can't advertise. Who are you advertising to?
Hey, funny you say
There's
that.
only one Bentley company, though. There are a lot of watch companies.
Well, I don't know how many $350,000 watch companies there are. Rolex and then this company, I guess. Funny you say that, though, because we've been trying to get a plane, for this fall, because I'm all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
New York for Get Up on Mondays, Thursday Night Football in college towns, our studio here, Box Truck Studio, going to need to fly. And every time we talk to these private aviation companies, I'm always like, I would give you like a little love maybe in a video or something. They're like, no offense, Pat. Your demographic is not our demographic. That's true. I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I mean, you're on. I think about Tim McAfee watching that. Yeah. I think about Tim McAfee, my dad watching I'm not even going to say their name because you know what? You're right. I'm not even going to say their name. Watching our video and being like, hey, it's a cool company you got there, the planes. I'm like, yeah, Dad, you should use them. Pat, when the hell am I going to get it? It is a true thing. Those big high-end companies, they're all snooty with each other. I don't even know how it all happens. It's just, we live in a wild league right now. The NFL is a wild league right now.
It is.
Good for the NFL, by the way.
Yes, very good.
The NFL, for a long time, has been top-notch at dominating the news cycle. I actually spoke on a panel at South by Southwest. No big deal, by the way. Thank you. Thank you. I am a South by Southwest panel speaker. It was supposed to be Deion Sanders. He canceled last day. I just so happened to be in town. They asked if I would come by. I didn't even have a name tag in front of me. It was Deion Sanders' name tag. I had to put it down. The amount of disappointment out there was next level. The panel, though, was about digital media in professional sports. Okay. So I was there with somebody who was representing the NFL. He had just been hired from the WWE, this guy. So literally as soon as he sat down next to me, I was like, hi, I'm not Deion Sanders. I'm Pat McAfee. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I know of you, man. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I just got to the NFL like a month ago. I was like, oh, where were you before? He was like, WWE. And I was like, that's interesting. And then the guy over there was like the head of NFL Network, and we were asking questions. And we took a panel, and I ended up dominating the panel, obviously. I mean, it was just the way it goes. It was a good time. I had a lot of good answers. And the rest of the night, I thought about that. And I was like, they just hired somebody from WWE, and he was running something in like it was a very public area. Like what storyline. Yeah, it was very, I was like, wait a minute. And then from that day forward, I kind of watched how the NFL just dominated the news cycle, just continued to dominate and dominate in the middle of the offseason, dominate. They found quite a niche They have the least amount of games in professional sports. They pay the least amount of money to their athletes. They have no guaranteed contracts. Most people on the team, you don't really know a lot of them, but somehow the NFL is able to generate buzz forever because the game is an incredible one, and the business side is one where they're just, any pub is good pub in their eyes, and if they handle it, they handle it. If not, let's move forward. There's a game coming this weekend. Somebody will throw for 400 yards. Everybody forget about it.
And that's why the NFL and NBA continue to be the two fastest growing sports, because they are the greatest reality TV shows on the planet. And then the MLB and NHL, who don't like drama, kind of dying.
The NHL, playoff hockey,
Oh, it's great,
oh,
but no drama.
no drama. That sport stinks.
What turn was that? You were all in for 3 seconds, then you just look over at me and throw a shot.
Because he's right. What he just said is right. I want Sidney Crosby wearing a watch out there next year.
There is drama. It's on ice and competitive. It's none of the petty stuff off the ice that you guys all seem to care about so much.
I'm back in.
We need some hockey scandals. Come on.
Someone needs to take a skate off and slit someone's throat.
All right, let's get Tanya Harding on the phone. We'll be back on the other side of the break. By the way, that mockumentary,
Yes.
good movie.
Great.
Turns out Tanya's mom, not a great person.
No.
Never would have guessed that. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
It's 5 days on and 2 days off. It's a 40-minute ride from the south of Boomtown Boondocks over to the other side. Go downtown, not uptown. Take 440 loop around town. Go downtown, downtown. Neon lights dancing in the night, grooving and a moving and a doing what you're doing when you're downtown, not uptown. Take 440 loop around town. Go downtown, downtown. Neon lights dancing in the night, grooving and a moving and a doing what you're doing when you're downtown, downtown. Downtown, downtown. Go downtown, not uptown. Go downtown, downtown. Grooving and a moving, doing what you're doing. Downtown, not uptown. Go downtown, downtown. Yeah, downtown. There's a feeling I've been feeling. I felt it for a little while. Last night while you were sleeping, I mapped it all out in my mind. We're gonna load the car come sunrise and head south through Alabama. I could almost smell the ocean, feel the sea breeze and the sand. 38 lives waiting in the distance, and Florida's 8 hours at the most. I gotta drive the everyday out of my system and take a little time off on the coast. Watch the moonlight dancing on the tide. Don't you think that that would be alright? We'll take a cooler and some long necks, make a fire on the beach. Down there the stars are so much closer, back home they feel so out of reach. I know we got it good. I just need a couple days. A change of scene, a change of weather. Feel you beside me all the way. 38 lights waiting in the distance. Florida's 8 hours at the most. I gotta drive the everyday out of my system. She don't mess around, saying things that she don't mean. She don't keep you guessing, she comes out clear and clean. She'll tell you what she wants, and the best part of it is she just told me all about it and sealed it with a kiss. I've never seen the likes of it, nothing near as fine. Can't believe my luck, can't believe she's mine. Knew it from the get-go, if we tried we would.
Country musicians leave us no chance. Listen how he's singing about his lady right there.
Yeah.
Like, so now Sam was listening to this. She's like, now she's expecting, you know? What do you want from me? I'm a real life, bro. I love you, Sam.
Is this Rascal Flatts?
Sounds like it.
But I can't meet your country western singer expectations.
Just
of me.
can't do it.
She loves the AM stations, playing classic country songs. She's got the window open, she loves to sing along. Never seen the likes of it, nothing new.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, here worldwide from Indianapolis, Indiana. That was not the Rascal Flatts. That was another country song that is free of copyright that we can play on this show without getting in trouble.
Correct.
Go ahead, Diggs.
I assume the guy who's singing that song
You mean Lincoln Grounds?
probably just not good looking, and that's why he didn't make it, because his voice sounds just like the Rascal Flatts.
Yeah, I think the country machine there, if you have a good voice, good face, we're off and running.
Yeah, it really helps.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they just sing about being the most gentleman of all time, because that's what country folks are, just the most gentleman things of all time. Luke Bryan's like, I can be anywhere and I'll leave to hang out with you and stuff like that. Like, you just make me look like a terrible guy. If I'm like, Sam, can't make it, I'm in the middle of this. He's Luke Bryan leaving front row at a country show, his favorite musician, and he's willing to go hang out with his lady. I'm like, yeah, but he's Luke Bryan. What do you want from me? Let's go on the phones here. Let's go Eric from Pennsylvania. Eric, what's good, bub?
How you doing?
Hey, is this Eric with a K? Did Gumpy get that right, or are you Eric with a C?
It's with a C, of course. Come on, Gump.
He's Canadian. Let's take it easy on him.
I got rinsed for the
Oh,
other
now
way.
it's on the screen.
I got rinsed for the other way. Great. Rinsed is a great. Yeah, it's Eric with a K on the screen. This is your debut worldwide, bub. Anyways, what do you want to talk about? If it's a bad call, by the way, it was Eric with a K, not Eric with a C.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you want to talk about?
Hey, I just wanted to ask you a question. Just wanted to say thanks for everything you do with the boys. You guys got a really, really great thing going on over there. Been a big fan from podcast day one, even over at Barstool.
Hey,
But I
good,
was just curious.
hey, good for us, huh? Hey,
Yeah.
good for us. No, we appreciate you, Eric. Appreciate that a lot. What's up,
Yeah.
brother?
So I was just wondering, like, as somebody who is kind of trying to aspire back and like to the podcast kind of side of the business, and I was just like wondering. Obviously, you had like a little bit of help being a professional football player, being a phenomenal human being, and just being able to always be who you are. Like, what advice would you give somebody like through the hardest struggle that maybe you had, trying to always stay yourself and never confined to like what everybody wants you to be or to fall into that situation?
Eric, with a C.
Yeah.
Incredibly deep question right there. I appreciate you for it. I think the thing that really helped us out podcast-wise was we got a lot of great workers. Like, I think consistency is a big deal. So when I retired and joined Barstool, my workload, my day-to-day workload, from kicking balls for a living to attempting to make it on the internet, I mean, that thing probably 45 times the amount of work that I thought I was going to have to do. The internet is no joke. It never ends. It never stops. So you just got to keep going. I think consistency is a big deal. And everybody should be comfortable in who they are. And that sounds like something that is just such a ridiculous statement because it's such a cliche. But honestly, they've only made one of you, right? And a lot of people are trying to be somebody that they see on TV, even if it's a reality show, know that person's probably trying to be somebody else. So now you're third generation fake person. Just be yourself. And if it doesn't work out, at least you can sleep at night knowing, hey, I gave it a go as me. Now, the thing that did almost change me a little bit, when I first got like a $30,000 check out of nowhere, boy, I started flexing on everybody for like a week or two. And then I got in trouble, got suspended, got embarrassed nationally and worldwide. And that kind of humbles you very quickly. Also, here's another way to stay humble. Miss 2 kicks in a potential national championship endgame, have 27 death threats, be scared to leave your house, and then just everything will kind of keep you humble. But Eric, I think consistency is a big deal, brother. People will appreciate your work. Let's go to Peyton in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Howdy.
Jesus, Peyton. I mean, come on, Peyton.
All
Let's
right,
go. Let's go, Peyton. Where are you?
So here's my So first off, I just want to tell Zito this. I still have that musket if he wants it, and I can send it to him. And my question is about Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because he's got a $2.7 million contract this year. He's probably one of the most underpaid quarterbacks in the league right now. I want to know, what do you think he should be getting paid, along with Amari Cooper?
Okay, great question, Peyton. For the musket thing, that was a deep cut for a lot of people that are newly listeners. Know that Zito, Jose Perez back there, who runs the graphics and helps Foxy with cutting everything, he's currently wearing a Bob Ross t-shirt if you're watching along, is one of the most beautiful-minded human beings in the history of human beings. We think he could potentially be a billionaire. All he does is buy stuff, and it shows up at this office. He'd been looking for a musket for months, and he thought that if he had a musket, he would be able to protect this house. Not that he know that to load a musket, you have to do a lot of things, and if anybody broke in, it'd be over. But with the Dak Prescott question, such an interesting thing, because if he played like he did in the first week of this season, the last couple seasons, I think he's already broken off. I think Jerry Jones already pays him. I think Jerry Jones likes Dak Prescott a lot. You got to remember, Jerry Jones, I think this is kind of his entire thing. He doesn't feel as if his quarterback has to be the best quarterback in the NFL. You can go all the way back to Troy Aikman, a friend of mine, by the way. We text each other.
Yep.
Troy Aikman only passed like 12, 13 times a game. Like Troy Aikman was an incredibly smart man. He's a great broadcaster, but their offense was an Emmitt Smith-oriented offense. Michael Irvin would get loose every once in a while, come from that White House that's behind the training facility, hop over the fence, run some good routes, have a good time with his life. But now you go to Tony Romo. Tony Romo was never the greatest quarterback in the league. He was always a good quarterback, was never the greatest quarterback in the league. Broadcasting, whole different world now. He's a great broadcaster. Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, potentially the best broadcasters in the game right now, analysts. Mm-hmm. Me and Matt Hasselbeck would definitely put up a fight, but I don't know if Dak Prescott will do that in his future career. I'm not sure how often Dak Prescott is going to want to get on a mic later in his life, but if Dak Prescott played the way he had played week one in his last couple of years, I think he's already paid, but he also is on his rookie contract. Yes. Rookie contracts are a big deal in the NFL. I've been talking about this for a while now. It's kind of been my theory. The whole building of a team might completely change. If these teams with rookie quarterback, now Tom Brady, the Patriots, anytime we make a generalization about football or the NFL, let's just go ahead and knock out the Foxborough team.
Outlier.
And just act like the NFL stops at the New York. And just whatever's above it, north and east of it, just leave it out because they live in their own world. It's a fantasy land up there where they work very hard and win a lot. Everywhere else, though, you look at the Seattle Seahawks when it was the Legion of Boom. You look at the Los Angeles Rams. You look at a lot of teams that had young QBs on rookie contracts who are good. You can build up the team around them. And I think whenever the new CBA came with the new salary cap, the only people that really got paid was quarterbacks. You had to dump 90% of the salary cap into quarterback to keep a quarterback because there's not a lot of good quarterbacks need a good quarterback. Then the team started being, you know what? Let's take advantage of these rookie contract deals, build up the team around them, and then bang, they had some success. Not as much success as the Patriots with Tom Brady. If you can get Tom Brady on your team, you keep Tom Brady on your team.
Sure.
But I think this rookie contract that Dak has been on has allowed that team to build. I think they've been able to build a little bit. The offensive linemen are back. They're all paid. You got Zeke paid straight out of Cabo. You got a lot of things happening. I think Dak will get paid. I don't think it's going to be a breaking the bank deal, although the NFLPA will want him to. The NFLPA wants every new contract to break the bank so it sets a standard for the next guy coming up behind him. I think Dak gets paid. I think Cooper gets paid. But I don't think it'll break the bank and be the highest paid player of all time, which is the NFLPA's biggest fear, might set up a trend where Tom Brady isn't the only one not taking max dollar to build up the team around him, which isn't good for the NFLPA, but it's good for the team. I thought Andrew Luck was going to be that guy, by the way. I thought Andrew Luck, after his rookie deal, was going to be a guy that's like, hey, I have been getting my ass kicked. I will take less money. You put some of that money into the offensive line. Right. I will be very thankful.
Yeah.
Then I was introduced to the art of business by a lot of the OGs on the team. They were like, can't happen. I'm like, why? Kid's going to retire after 7 years. I'm like, well, if he takes a lower contract, then the next quarterback has to take a lower contract. Then we get set up into this trend where you don't have to pay max dollar. The teams can save money in their pocket. I'm like, well, if it means anything, I took less money than I should have. So Andrew could get paid more. I was actually told during my negotiations, and we have to handle Andrew in a year from now, so we have to drop that year down. It's like, well, Andrew's a once-in-a-generation player. I respect that a lot, but I've always been a big team guy. I've always been a big team guy. Always have been, always will be. That's why the boys are with me right here. But I don't know. I think Dak will take a little bit less money. I think he will get paid, but I don't think it'll be top dollar. I think Carson Palmer making this statement about he should take a team-friendly deal and just move forward. It's like, I like Carson Palmer. I think he's done a lot of good, but bro.
Carson got paid.
Bro, you got paid like 6 times. Like,
well, yeah, he was the number 1 overall pick, and back then they got $40 million to start, like right out the gate. I
think my favorite thing about Carson Palmer, he's playing in Cincinnati, looked around, got sick of it, and was like, I'll quit. And then he went on to have a whole nother career after Cincinnati. I like Carson Palmer a lot, but I don't think anybody should be talking about other people's money. That's why I kind of feel weird talking about Dak's money. But I do believe Jerry Jones, great businessman, will be able to get this done and keep Dak happy.
Dak wanted $40 million, but I think he should probably fall somewhere in between Wentz and Goff because I think they just got around 33 to 35. I mean, Dak's a top 10 fringe.
Listen, and this is too much common sense to think this way. Like, bro, you get $30 million. Like, yeah, you're probably pretty good.
We're good, right?
You're probably good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
you can get by on that.
This is coming from a dummy who retired and left $6 million on the table, is what everybody's saying. But if my contract was worth $30 million, I'll tell you what, put me on a wheelchair, I'll punt that ball. You know, like $30 million, that's
life-changing.
That's life-changing money. Now, granted, Uncle Sam is automatically making $15 million a year too as soon as you get $30 million. So you got to think about that. But I mean, how much is enough? That's what I always think. I want the NFL to have to spend all of the money that they have to spend because they're making enough. I want players to make as much money as possible. But hey, I would like everybody on the team to make a good amount of money to set themselves up. You got a lot of people sacrificing at the bottom of that roster. They're making $800,000 a year, and they're looking at guys that are like, nope. I'm not coming back unless it's $40 million. It's like, bro, tough to relate to you right now. I'm going to be honest. Tough to relate to you right now.
That's like Marlon Mack right now is making $700,000. He's leading the league in rushing.
Hey, you see he scored a touchdown with one shoe. His right shoe was it was like a shandle. Like he had the back was pushed down because somehow somebody got his ankle.
Got a flat tire.
Yeah, he had a flat tire, and he was outrunning professional athletes with a flat tire. I get a flat tire, I'm falling on my face immediately. I like Marlon Mack. He gave a great interview too. Gave a great interview. I like Marlon Mack a lot. He's a good football player. But it is, contracts are contracts. If you're lucky enough to be in an organization that believes they can renegotiate and re-up you, it's awesome. The Colts were a big time. We don't do that. We don't renegotiate. We don't re-up you. Chris Ballard got in there with a southern accent and was like, Mr. Irsay, can we not just take care of the players just a little bit? Brother, we've never done that before. And Chris Ballard's like, Mr. Come on. Can we just take care of the players a little bit? You take care of them, they'll play better for you. And Mr. Irsay's like, never thought of that. I just bought this guitar for a quick $1.5 million. I guess we can give a wide receiver a little bit of money.
Steelers didn't do it either until the last year of the deal.
They started
and then they caved for AB.
Do you think it's because of the outspokenness and the ability to speak about things on social media where everything can get going? Like, for instance, the Steelers treat somebody terribly. If you're a free agent, will you want to go to the team?
That's a good point.
No.
Yeah.
It's almost getting to the point where it's like college recruiting, where if like college coaches used to be so scared to pool scholarships,
Yeah.
which they could, by the way. Colleges can pool. It's a 1-year scholarship each year that they choose to re-up. It's a school option. And if they would pool a scholarship, they're always like, well, if we pool it, then that school will tell that school, and that brother will do that brother. And it's just like it's all for image. It's all for that. But I'm all about everybody getting rich,
Yeah.
Sure.
including those that are listening at home.
Want all y'all to get rich.
I hope you all win the lottery. I hope you all get a chance to get fined for wearing a $350,000 watch. On the other side of the break, an electric figure, Clinton Portis. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Thank you, Chase Rice. A lot just happened there. I mean, we had music playing, copyright free. Ty Schmidt was crawling on the floor there for a minute to make sure. Well, by the way, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 11:01 on September 11th, 2019. 18 years ago, something terrible happened in this country. We'll never forget that. Also, we'll never, ever forget the first time I met this man that's on the phone right now. It was at NFL Network. We were doing the NFL AM show. It was about 3 a.m. in the morning, maybe 4 a.m. in the morning. I had never met him, but I had heard nothing but magical things. I knew he was a national champion for the University of Miami Hurricanes. I knew that he had rushed for 9,953 yards in the NFL, but I did not know that he was absolutely hysterical. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, former NFL running back, legend of a human, Clinton Portis.
Hey, that might be the best intro I ever got, Pat.
Hey, I feel good about that. That's all I'm trying to do is make you feel good before we get into this great conversation about you having a Henny game I just read about. I just heard about this on the internet. What is this Henny game talk all about?
Come on, man. How could you not just hear about that? It was just one of those games. You know, we all have them. I'm just the one who came out and said, hey, yeah, I did it. You know, I feel as players, there are so many stories that go untold within the locker room, and having that, you know, it happened. It's been out. It's been the topic of conversation, but hey, it was one of those games. You know, you had a tough game. You knew I didn't take, you know, I never took shots. I never took pills. It just wasn't me. So if I was in pain, if I was hurting, if anything was going on, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this little shot of Henny and get through it. It wasn't one of those things like, oh, let me get wasted so I can go out and play. And it actually happened the first time by mistake was rookie night. Everyone in the NFL knows about rookie night and how crazy rookie night can get. And just our rookie night in Denver was on a Friday night, and I actually had the effects Sunday morning. So yeah, it was just one of those situations. And I was honest about it instead of lying. You know, like so many people are, oh, I can't believe you did this. If you knew half the shit that people do, like the craziness that go on.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm on your side there. Your accent just said shoot there. It might have sounded a little bit different, but I honestly, whenever I heard the story, I just heard about it this morning, I was just like, what a legend of a man, to come out and talk like that. Because I do think, and this might have happened during your career, because of all your post-game incredible characters, by the way, incredible characters. It doesn't get talked about enough in the history of the NFL. An entertaining character, not only is Clinton Portis playing football, but what you would do post-game was just absolutely electric. Do you think that because you had a personality that camouflaged your greatness in between the lines? Do you think that potentially happened by older white people that write stories and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do, because they felt as if I was doing that as a reach, as a cry, you know, and I wasn't. I was doing that to brighten up the locker room. I think we went through some tough times, you know, just losing, and everyone was tired of it. And the blame, you know how tensions get tight when you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And it was just one of those cheering up my teammates, and the cameras caught it. You know, it wasn't something like, oh, you know, like, let me go do this, and I'm drawing attention to myself. It was, hey, as a team, we were going through it, and for me, it was like, you know what, let me try to help my teammates, and we're playing around, and the cameras just happened to catch me playing around. So it kind of extended. And from there, after like 2 weeks, you know, I was done with it. After like 2 or 3 weeks, and we went on a win streak. And by then, the national media picked it up, and it was a positive spin, and I saw it on CNN, and then the Redskins started providing. Then my teammates started providing costumes, and, hey, my wife said do this, and my wife sent this, or we found this, or the kids want you to put this on. So it was like an implement, like everybody got involved is the only reason it continued. Because for me, it was done after the third week. I only had 3 costumes.
We have a picture of it right now up on the stream online. You're also being broadcasted now on 35 radio stations across the country. Clinton Portis, You won a national championship at the U. There are so many stories and things talked about that come out of the U. Swag U, the 30 for 30. Michael Irvin said, you don't want us dancing and don't let us in the end zone. What was Miami like back in the heyday? I think you guys had 45 NFL players on your roster at one time. What was it like back in Miami? And do you still keep in touch with everybody from the U?
Well, first off, it was a blessing to have that opportunity when you get to create lifelong friendships, playing with Santana Moss and Sean T in the NFL after playing with them in college, seeing so many of the guys, having a running back room that consisted of Frank Gore and Najee Davenport, Willis McGahee, Jared Payton, James Jackson, myself, Edge he had just left, being good friends with that. I didn't get NFL friends. Like my homeboys are from college. It was one of those times we didn't know. You look at Ed Reed going to the Hall of Fame. You look at Ray Lewis. You look at Michael Irvin and Warren Sapp. Like the legends of the U. We didn't know. Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne coming up. They're gonna go in. Edgerrin James is coming up. Frankie G broke into the top 5. So we didn't know what we were creating. It was just competition. It was everybody out to be the best, fending for themselves, trying to feed family. And all of a sudden you create, I think our rankings were like 15. And that was myself, Andre Johnson, Philip Buchanan, Brian McKinney, Vernon Carey, Vince Wilford in the same class. And we were ranked 15th that year. And, you look back at it, and it's like no one knew. Like no one knew how special it was. And when you look at the history of the University of Miami, the richness of the University of Miami, it's just one of those where people had the right mindset. You came to play football. You came to provide for your family. You came for an escape from your environment. Like if you look at the players, all of a sudden the U changed when they began to go and try to get top-ranked this and top-ranked that. Everything on our roster was kind of in state. We had some linemen from up north. We had a couple skill positions from Texas, but our roster was Florida throughout. And the competition on it amongst us inside the locker room, everyone didn't get along. But you never would have knew that outside of the building. If you saw us outside of the building, you would think, man, those guys are best friends. Inside of the building, we throwing haymakers at each other. But that's what made it. It's like it's brothers, like that's what formed a brotherhood and lifelong memories. Like the conversation about best team of all time. You go back and you find all of these teams. It's like you want to water the U down, but as you said, you got 45 players on the NFL roster. But not only did they make NFL rosters, they were always the top at their position. You look at Edge, myself, Frankie G, Willis throughout our tenure. We were always in the top of the running back conversation. You look at Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss, always at the top of the wide receivers. You look at the tight ends and Shockey and Winslow and Jimmy Graham. Like, bro, everybody, Ed Reed and Sean T, possibly 1-2 of the best safeties of all time, both from the U. You talk about Antrell Roll and Jonathan Villman, DJ Williams, Vince Wilford. Everyone made it to Pro Bowls. Everyone was considered all pros. It wasn't one of these, you know what, they were good in college. All of a sudden they got to the NFL and disappeared. We would have thrashed most of these teams. Like, Alabama, Clemson. Man, they weren't grown. Like, we had the right mindset. Those kids today, it's a scheme. Like, we would play with them kids. Like, are you serious?
Hey, I have a question for you. Has the University of Miami ever thought about just paying you a bank to go market for the University of Miami? You just went on one of the best pitches I've ever heard for a university in my life. How come Miami, will the U ever be the U again? Or do you think that is a thing that is just going to be folklore forever? It's like back in the day, the U was the U. Now it's like they're all trying to keep up. Do you think the U will ever be back?
I think the U will return. I think the state of Florida will return. But you got to start keeping all the talent in-house. What happened is all of our talent from the state of Florida is now at Clemson or Alabama or LSU. Like, when you look at these rosters, they're loaded with the top players from Florida. You look at Amari Cooper, you look at Lamar Jackson, you look at how many players we let slip away and go to other universities outside of Florida. So the state of Florida has to keep their talent inside. FSU, University of Florida, UCF has become a dominant school. South Florida, Miami. You have enough prestigious universities in Florida that kids don't have to leave. And now we got to get them back. And I think for the University of Miami to return, the one thing that's missing, the talent is at the University of Miami, right? I think Manny Diaz has the program heading in the right direction. You got off to a start this year that, you know, more people were expecting more. But at the same time, it's a young team. They have to learn how to finish. They've been in every game. So when you look at it, I think what's actually missing and what's going to return the University of Miami to prominence is when they stop saying, hey, we're trying to return the University of Miami to the glory days, and they bring players in from the glory days to have an impact on the University of Miami instead of having us just walk through and, hey, you know what, you're visual and you see the guys, but actually getting guys and taking guys who had successful careers or guys that bleed that orange and green and putting them in everyday roles at the University of Miami so players could actually get the true stories, get the real, hey, what it takes to be a champion, what it takes to compete, what it takes to have to get to the level to beat Alabama or Clemson, like the mindset that you need to have. This isn't just, hey, we're going to beat them and you go out and do it. You got to put in work. I remember after the Sugar Bowl in 2000, after we had demolished Florida in New Orleans, probably 10 days later, everybody, myself, Andre Johnson, Vince Wilford, Bryant McKinney, Ed Reed, Ed Reed had already announced he's returning for his senior year. So that was the best news. And Butch Davis left. And, everyone felt like, oh, man, they're done. That was their shot. And it was so much focus. It was so much competition, like every day in the off season when we didn't have to be around. You had guys in the locker room. You had guys playing basketball. You had guys arguing. Like, coaches used to come in like, what the hell, like, is it a meeting going on? Because guys was organizing and policing each other. And I think so many of us wanted Coach Coker instead of Barry Alvarez, who was rumored to be on the way at the time. So many people wanted Coach Coker that it was like, we got to police ourselves. We got to make sure when we ask for Coach Coker to be our head coach that we got to police ourselves because Coach Coker was the best players coach of all time. He didn't have a disciplined bone in his body. But as players, oh, yeah, he didn't. But Coach Coker was such a good coach and a fun coach that everyone wanted to play for him. Like, we didn't want that change. I played running back, and they were like, Barry Alvarez is coming in. This is good for you. And I'm like, no, it's not. I don't want the ball 30 times a game. I do my action in 15 to 20 carries, and I need to be standing on the sideline. So we had so much talent that it was just like everyone policed themselves, and that's how the team bonded. Everyone went out together. Everyone stuck together. It was like we were so inseparable for a 7 or 8 month run that you knew, even when you look at Ed Reed and Matt Walters, Boston College, Ed Reed snatching the ball out of Matt's hand. It was just one of those, you knew you could depend on a guy to make a play. I could look across the field and say, hey, I need you, and Andre Johnson score a touchdown, or Jeremy Shockey come up with a big play, or Ken Dorsey find the right guy. It was just one of those. You didn't even have to go up and beg. It was like, man, I need you. I need you to do something. It's like, oh, I got you. And it was done. So when the University of Miami get back to that, we'll be fine.
I think it's such an incredible thing because in locker rooms, when somebody comes into a locker room and we maybe not know a guy, maybe a guy's traded or just picked up, and you ask somebody, like, what's he like? He's like, oh, he's a Florida boy. Like, Florida guys are known for, he's a Florida guy. He's fast, he's going to work hard, and he's probably a savage. Like, that's literally what, that's usually what Florida people are, Florida guys are. Speaking of, and I don't know, I don't remember or recall exactly if you were a part of this or not. Who was the big money guy that ended up getting into jail and just completely turning on the U and talking about everybody. And how much was that over-dramatized or talked about, or was it about accurate, everything he said in that 30 for 30 documentary?
Well, it was definitely over-dramatized. I was actually gone, and the guy was Nevin Shapiro. It happened after we won the national championship. It came with the next ring. So, but it was so overblown because it was like a donor. It was like having your donor around, which I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, and the University of Florida was down the street. The legend of Javon Kearse, Gerard Warren, Fred Taylor, Riedel Anthony, Ike Hilliard. I was there firsthand, Jaquez Green, to experience those guys in college. When I say they all had black S550 Benzes and ran the town of Gainesville, hey, no one cared. It was a college town. I think when you look at the University of Miami, we never saw boosters when I was around. Like, we never came into contact because we were coming off probation already. So my class was the first class that wasn't on probation, the 99 class. So that was the first time they had full scholarships after coming off probation. All of a sudden, Shapiro, it seemed as if he was a booster. He was there. You see the pictures with Donna Shalala and everybody else from the U and him running out of the tunnel. It was like, hey, this is a huge fan that has money. So what went wrong, I have no idea because I didn't have any dealings with that. But on the outside looking in, I think they punished the University of Miami so much from his actions that it was worse than Penn State. It was worse than Ohio State. It was worse than USC. It was worse than any other school. It was like they gave us a death penalty without giving us a death penalty. You look at how long this was drawn out. It was maybe over a 4-year tenure that the conversation went on before we got a punishment. Everybody else, Penn State went on probation, and 2 months later they were the first team to play on ESPN. Whereas our school, such and such gave money. I know players from Ole Miss. Ole Miss had the top recruiting class 3 years in a row. I'm from Mississippi. There's no way you can get me to go to Oxford, Mississippi over any other university in the USA. No way. Number one recruiting class 3 years in a row under Hugh Freeze.
It's a blind side.
He got a slap on the wrist. And the positive is, look at Hugh Freeze. He's coaching from the press box. No one ever mentions that this man had the number one recruiting class 3 years in a row. No one.
Oh, well.
They swept it under the table. No probation. All these number one players, they swept it under the table.
What?
And so many programs have the same thing going on.
Well, I think it's because the U is filled with personalities, which is kind of driving the conversation right now. A lot of big-time personalities kind of attract attention, which is happening in the NFL. Everything going on in the NFL right now. Antonio Brown is in another terrible situation. If he did it, bad guy, terrible guy, put him in jail forever. If not, we'll see how that works out. Odell Beckham Jr. now, Clinton. Listen, I'm excited to hear this take from you. Odell Beckham Jr. is upset that he wore a $350,000 watch on the field and got fined for it. And I've said this. Everybody knows that you can't wear a watch during the game. Like, everybody knows that. And everybody knows that. It's like Antonio Brown missed mandatory meetings and practices in Oakland. He got fined for it. Everybody knows that's what happens. Like, in the NFL, if you miss stuff, you get fined for it. Now, granted, we don't know if he and Mike Mayock had an agreement or not. Odell Beckham Jr., we don't know if him and Roger Goodell had an agreement or not, if he could be the only player in the history of the NFL to wear a watch during a game. But it does feel as if personalities are kind of dominating the news cycle right now. Do you enjoy where the NFL is right now from a PR standpoint? Do you think the game is better because of it, or do you think things need to revert back to like, hey, let's just talk about what's going on in between the lines?
I don't think the NFL is better, and here's the reason why. I think when you look at, they took the individuality out of the NFL, and it became corporate. And now all of a sudden you have select guys, Antonio Brown, Odell, a few other guys that have huge personalities that's been muted. You know, OBJ had the stage in New York, the biggest media market, and everything he did was highlighted. It was, hey, let's zoom in on him. We know he's going to give us some kind of answer. And then that personality grew. And once you grow to a certain stage, people begin to take shots. It begins to become a problem in corporate. So when you look at these guys, OBJ, that fine for first off, I wouldn't play football with the $350,000 because I'm worried. I'm worried that someone is going to try to mess it up. But for him to do it, obviously he had a deal with that watch company.
Yep.
It gave great marketing to that watch company. So they're going to pay his fine, I would hope. AB, it's so much AB, that you forget how dynamic of a player he is. In this situation, as you said, if he did it, that's bad news. If he didn't do it, I think when people make these accusations, there's no punishment for them if it's fake or if it's false. There's no punishment. But the damage will be done because everyone has already taken side to AB. And look at the timing of this. AB has dominated the news, dominated. Now, all of a sudden, he goes to New England, and this comes out. You had forever to bring this to anyone's attention. So for me, I think AB has put himself in an unfortunate situation because too many people are paying attention to you. Too many people are noticing you. Too many people see you. Like everyone's watching to find your mistake, to find, you know what, how can we tame this man? How could we tame this talent? Because his head is getting too big. He feels untouchable. So for AB, he has a spotlight on him that's not going to go his way for quite some time. You look at Josh Gordon in this situation. How smooth. Josh Gordon just came out and played a great game. No one is talking about it. No one has spoke on his recovery and the growth that he's had under Bill Belichick and how dynamic of a coach Coach Belichick is, how team-oriented the Patriots are, how Brady is such a great leader to help these guys develop. So for AB, I think it's a great situation that he's going into if he ever makes it.
All right. Final question before we have to let you go here, and we have to get to a break. I was just yelled at by Westwood One, the radio show. Who do you think wins it all? Is it the Super Bowl is actually on Groundhog's Day. It is actually on Groundhog's Day, which is what the NFL has felt like for the last 16 years with Belichick coaching. Is there anybody that can top the Patriots, especially with how dominant they looked week one? We don't know about the Steelers. Obviously, they shipped out some players. They thought it was addition by subtraction, but it was a blowout in Foxborough, which is a hard place to play. Do you see anybody really making a run at the New England Patriots here and potentially ending a dynasty, or is this just same old, do you think?
So I would, with the addition of Antonio Brown, after seeing what they already have, I would say same old. But there are some teams that have some special things brewing. When I look at the Baltimore Ravens, I'm ecstatic about the Ravens. That playmaking ability, Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, Mark Ingram, Snead, like those guys being on the same team with that playmaking ability, it's going to be special for them, because if Lamar Jackson can stay accurate as he was week one, that's going to be a problem for the NFL. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, understated, LaShawn McCoy addition was probably one of the best additions this entire offseason. And it's like, he's at the end of his career. No, he's not. And now he's back with the coach who allowed him, who always been known for putting guys in space. So you're talking about LaShawn McCoy, Tyreek Hill when he comes back, Sammy Watkins after a dominant week with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That's going to be a hard combination, really hard combination. So in the NFC, you have teams. I actually love how the Cowboys look. As a broadcaster, I look at the Cowboys different than I did as a player. As a player, I just couldn't respect the Cowboys. It's nothing positive you can get me to say. I want all the smoke. As a player, when you become a fan of sports, when you look at the addition of Randall Cobb, and you got Amari Cooper, and this kid, number 13, he's incredible. Dak Prescott, perfect passer rating. Then you bring Zeke back into the fold with that defense. They have been struggling defensively. Now they got one of the best front sevens in the NFL. If their secondary catch up, the Dallas Cowboys can get back into the prominence of their glory days. So the Saints, what an outstanding game. Drew Brees is my favorite player in the NFL.
Really?
So for them to come back, Yes, has been for quite some
He's
time.
a Texas
Purdue,
guy.
San Diego. Hey, he was at Purdue. I watched him then. When I was playing with the Broncos, I had the luxury of playing against him with the Chargers. So I've always been a fan of Drew Brees. Now, the Saints have been my favorite team all my life. I'm from Mississippi. I grew up in Mississippi, so I'm a Saints fan. So Drew Brees, watching that is like you can never count him out. Michael Thomas, phenomenal player. So Alvin Kamara. I mean, you look at these guys and the pieces of the puzzle, they have something special going on.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think there is a lot of parity potential in the NFL. But boy, with Bill Belichick still pulling the strings up there, you can't help but think that the New England Patriots are going to be back on top. Clinton Portis, please send our best wishes to Edgerrin James. Please let him know that we all want him into Hall of Fame immediately. Please let him know that we want to go down to Miami and have a night down there at Club One with you and the boys. And I'm so thankful that you joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, Clinton Portis. Thank you, Clinton. We'll be back on the other side of the break. You're listening to a couple calls, by the way, on the other side. Then we'll have to hit another quick break. He broke down a lot there.
A lot.
Yeah.
He's good.
Very good.
I mean, he is good. Grew up in Mississippi and Gainesville. I respect that. Mm-hmm. We'll be back on the other side. 1-833-622-3331. Gumpy's answering calls. We'll be taking them on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Who are these bootleg musicians? This guy sounds exactly like JT. The other last guy was Rascal Flatts.
Goodman, one name. No, Matt Goodman, sorry.
Matt
He's
Goodman.
got a name.
Just bootleg real people on the copyright-free stuff?
Are there musician impersonators? Is that what these guys are?
His name doesn't even come up when you Google it. That's
good. Yeah.
What?
M-A-C.
Matt, M-A-T-T.
Matt Goodman has found a nice little niche there. Just let me be on the copyright-free stuff. I'll sound exactly like everybody else.
This is George, Georgia with Blunted.
Blunted, as in marijuana?
Georgia, that's a fake mustache.
Can't talk about that.
5 seconds.
Oh, Matt Goodman, a.k.a. Matty Roots.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. You're listening to some sensual sounds of copyright-free music because we cannot play any of the real stuff. But these knockoff guys, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Let's get to the phones. 25-minute conversation with Clinton Portis there. He unloaded a lot there. I mean, a lot of things. I feel like I learned a lot. I had no idea or could have imagined that Drew Brees was his favorite player, but it makes sense because Drew Brees is this guy who everybody says is too small. He got released from the Chargers. They do this, bounce around. And all he does is just break every quarterback record that's ever possible and throw the ball well. Texas boy, though. Never thought about that. Florida boy is a real thing. Like, whenever you hear guys coming in the locker room, like, he's from Dade County. It's like, all right. Probably runs a 4.2.
That's awesome.
Probably savage. Let's get to Cody in Miami. We'll just keep with the Miami train here. Cody, what's going on?
What's going on, Pat? How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Long drive down to Miami. Actually, kind of coincidence with that call with Ed there, but never had the chance to meet you. You did have an opportunity, you and the boys, to open up a Christmas present from me last year. Might remember, might not remember. Foxy might be able to tell you that.
Is this? Hold on. This is Foxy's boy.
Yeah.
This is Never Lose a Penny on the internet.
You got it.
Oh my God! All right, listen. Never lose a penny, Mr. Sir. I've heard about you for a long time. You provided me with a vape that didn't work, but I heard it was going to be a cougher, a choker. I respect that a lot. You're Foxy's friend from back home, and you are a motivational speaker on the internet. Am I correct? I've kind of looked at your stuff.
Well, yeah, a little bit here and there. Financial literacy expert, but I like to bring some comedy into it here and there.
Do you think I respect about you the most? And when I say this, I mean this. There's a lot of people yelling about stuff on the internet. When I first saw you, I don't know how it is now, you had probably like 27 followers, and you were doing these videos that were just breaking down financial literacy in a beautiful fashion. And I was like, man, there's nobody watching these, but this is an incredible video. So I want to.
I got to give you credit for giving Foxy, a small town guy, a chance. And first of all, cleaning up his haircut and giving him a beard. He's a good looking guy now.
Facts. The glow up is real. Never lose a penny. I will talk about this though. Have you ever earned a penny? Is that a real thing? Because honestly, you are this fictitious character in this office. Every once in a while, I'll be sitting down in the middle of something, and there'll be a group that's just like, "Oh, he's back," and they're like, "Never lose a penny. He's back on the internet." And I'll just like hear over talking in the corner. I never really knew it. How did you become this financial literacy expert? Because you say good stuff into your phone and scream and from your studio. I saw your studio, I think, at one point. How did this all come to be, Mr. Never Lose a Penny?
Well, it was a leap of faith. Being an entrepreneur, this, a small business owner, there's ups and there's downs, and we're getting out of the downs, heading back into the ups right now. So it's a passion. The 07 crisis really got me into it after my parents got screwed over, to be honest. But the other thing I wanted to get Foxy's back on here is the lava cake thing. I've never heard of it.
My God.
So I'm going to have to try me one.
Mr. Never Lose a Penny, I appreciate you. The lava cake thing, in Michigan, they don't have lava cakes. And it makes no sense to me because I was told not to say this because we are on a lot of stations right now and there's a lot of eyes on us and stuff like that. And we're in an ads business. The Domino's lava cake is the greatest dessert the greatest dessert that can be delivered to your house in a jiffy. I don't even order their pizza. I have no idea how Domino's pizza is. I haven't had it since like college when I had the $5 pickup. I used to do that all the time. It was a lifesaver, but I haven't really touched them since because in Indiana where I live, there wasn't a lot of Domino's. So then Domino's came into my town, and the first thing I did, I may or may not have been on some vitamins. I scrolled through and I saw these lava cakes. I'm like, let me see those lava cakes. That's like a 3-time-a-week delivery at the house. If anybody from Domino's is listening, just send over the recipe. Bravo on that thing. And you know what? It's not bad cold, too, the next day. This is not this is not like OBJ's watch, by the way. I have paid them to say this. Oh, my God. It just popped up on the screen. We'll be back on the other side with some more calls. Thanks to Mr. Never Lose a Penny. I'm not sure he's ever earned a penny, but he'll never lose one either. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Oh, so good. Who left the cigarillo wrapper in the bathroom? Zito trying to explain why he put a team photo up of the Miami Hurricanes without Clinton Portis. Read that. You should read that. "30 seconds, Diggs." It's impossible. It's for anybody to know what's going on, so it's not your fault. Oh, Frankie's trying to figure out right now, do I play another song or do I wait until we come back from it? That a boy Ty? Is this AC/DC? You're listening to FC GC. Oh, we're live. Come on! You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show here. Worldwide in Italy, Canada, United States on the DAZN app. Also in radio stations across the country. We're not exactly sure which ones, but if you're listening to us, we thank you. If you're driving through and you just kind of poked your head in here and you've liked what you've heard, go ahead and call your local Westwood One sports station and say, hey, we would like the Pat McAfee Show to air on our station. You're not hurting anybody. You're only helping people.
No.
You're helping us in a big way.
Yeah.
You could potentially get on the show if you call 1-833-622-3331. And that is 1-833-McAfee-1. There was a man, I went out to go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
I went out to go to the bathroom in between the breaks. And as soon as I get outside, there's this man named Light Switch Lou that we have known for a long time. He's been our sales guy when we were at Barstool, and then he's now an independent, like basically consultant for sales. He's been a good friend of ours. Mm-hmm. He flies into Indiana, escapes his life in New York a little bit, and then he goes back to New York. I walked out there after that last break, and he said, "Never Lose a Penny" needs to be on every single show. Is that accurate, Lewis? There's a microphone that's live right there, Lewis, if you'd like to speak into it.
If we don't turn Never Lose a Penny, a.k.a. Financially Athletic, into our Jim Cramer, we have fouled. He needs to be on the show.
You got a chance to meet him one time whenever you're...
He needs to be a character. I kind of know what a character is. That guy needs to be every Friday.
Lewis calling someone else a character is brilliant.
If we don't have him, I'll be crushed every weekend.
Well,
every weekend.
I walked out there, and as soon as literally one step out the door, he looks at me and he goes, all right. We need to make Never Lose a Penny a full-time character. I don't know how we do it. We need to do it. We'll try to make that happen, Lewis. For the good of the show, Lewis.
For the good of the country.
Lewis.
For the good of the country, he just said.
It's worldwide, Lewis.
Now he's Mr. Never Lose a Penny. What doesn't this guy know about money?
Get out of here. Let's get out of here. Shout out to Never Lose a Penny. That's the first time I've ever talked to that guy. I've heard about him for years. I've literally heard about this guy for years. I've had a lot of questions, but I'm happy he called in. Shane from Indiana would like to talk on the telephone. Shane, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Just hanging out, having a good time here on a nice Wednesday. About to hop on a plane and fly down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We'll be doing the next 2 shows from a box truck. Who knows if that box truck will work or not? It's being built literally as we speak. Tim McAfee with his bare hands. How are you doing, Shane? What would you like to talk about?
I'm actually great, man. I just wanted to call first and foremost and say thank you. Last year, I had a heart attack at 31. It was kind of a freak incident, and the day I posted it on your YouTube page, commented back to me and sent me good luck and good vibes, man. And ever since then, my life has just kind of taken a turn uphill and going in the right direction. I've been following my dreams, and I owe a lot of credit to you guys for just inspiring me with all the things that you've done with your football career as a comedian, talk show host, wrestling commentator, Thursday Night Football, everything you attempt to do. You just put everything you have into it, and it's an inspiration, man.
Shane, thank you so much for calling. Real quick, congrats on making it through a heart attack at the age of 31. That had to be a wild scene for you, and I'm very thankful for your fanhood, brother. We can't thank you enough. How are your thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts this year? Are you like Jacoby? You said things are looking up. Are you an optimist now that everything's happened? Because this is a situation, having a heart attack, that can really put some things in perspective, for instance, and I assume that happened for you. How do you feel about the Colts?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I went 16-0 in fantasy last year with Andrew Luck as my starting quarterback, so I felt good about it. And but I'm a Browns fan at heart. I'm a Browns fan at heart, so I'm feeling some remorse this week.
Well, I think they're going to come back. The dog pound's going to come back. Baker Mayfield, speared by a police officer, came back and won the Heisman. Became the #1 overall pick after having to walk on to 3 schools. Don't give up the dog pound yet. Even though your fantasy football quarterback did retire, I'm sure you'll get back on top. Shane, we appreciate the hell out of you, buddy. Shane's a good guy.
That hit
Great
home.
guy.
That hit home.
It did, didn't it? Because, Diggs, you have a bad heart.
Yeah, and I'm 31.
For those that don't know, Diggs took too many Jaeger bombs in college, and his heart has decided not to act properly.
The original Four Loko. That's what did it.
Hey, that Four Loko played no games.
I think it strengthened mine.
Nick was hardened through the wars with Four Loko. We actually, at one point, and I think we can admit this now, I was trying to be the Nucky Thompson of the original Four Loko. For those that don't know what that is, that's Boardwalk Empire, where Nucky Thompson was running a black market alcohol industry back.
He's a bootlegger.
Big time bootlegger.
During Prohibition.
During the Prohibition. And whenever they were trying to get rid of the Four Loko, we saw that as an opportunity. And Nick was a big-time Four Loko advocate. He became an entirely different individual on Four Loko. By the way, Four Loko, terrible for you. It is not good
Turns
for you.
out the worst.
It's gonna be the cause of Diggs having a heart attack, much like Shane at the age of 31. Yeah. But Nick became this superhuman of a character on Four Loko, and I never seen anything like it. I go home, I come back, I go home. Nick's a whole new man, and they were about to ban it, and I saw Nick's soul get sucked out of him. This new man that he had become on this one drink that saved everything was being eliminated from society, not by his means. And I told Nick, I said, hey, I'll give you 50 grand. Just go buy all the Four Loko up. Just go buy it all up. We still probably would have had some in the shelves if we would have done that. We chose not to do that. I guess it's pretty illegal. I guess
it was a good move though. It was like, hey, for those of you that want some idea what it's like to be really high on cocaine and drunk at the same time, here's this.
It was an insane. I never did it.
I bought about 6 cases myself as a reserve stock. We ran through those in the summer.
Well, you never had it, Four Loko?
I never did Four Loko.
That's probably a good thing.
It's rocket fuel.
It's powerful.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I was pretty naturally on Four Loko back in the day.
True.
And I'm pretty thankful I didn't, from what it sounds like.
Yeah,
I mean, Diggs potentially dead soon. Because, let's go to Brendan in New York. Brendan, what's up, bub? All right, let's go to Jason in South Bend. Did you hear me just hang up on somebody that quick, by the way?
Had to do it.
Hey, that's the first time I've ever really done that. That's the first time I ever.
Good for you.
Hey,
you're managing the show.
Hey. Sorry, Jason in South Bend. What's up, bub?
How's it going, Pat and the boys? Doing great today.
Hey, things are going pretty well here. Guy Shane survived a heart attack, made me feel good a year later. Everything's going well. What do you got going on? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I've got a couple of quick things for you. For all my fellow degenerates out there, we got a UFC card this Saturday night. But take Justin Gagey and Glover Teixeira. Your pocketbook will thank me.
Okay, let's write that down and make sure we never let this guy on the air again if those two lose. Okay, Jason, what else you got?
Second, big thanks to Nick for the putting up the Goats jersey there on the wall.
Hey,
Gotta love that decoration.
Yeah, a little hockey talk there. Mario Lemieux has been added to the studio if you're watching alongside of us. If you're listening in the radio, you have no idea what our studio looks like. Just know that it is a complete overhaul that people spent a lot of money in, and we're still taping things up to the wall, like that Mario Lemieux jersey behind Nick.
And then finally, I know you said there wasn't no drama in hockey, but I know because it happened in Pittsburgh, you kind of missed it. But the second best player in hockey gave the Penguins a him trade demand this offseason. Malkin told the Penguins it's either me or Kessel, and now Kessel's gone. That's some serious drama.
Oh, my God, Jason. Don't bring that negativity to me. I'm a big-time Penguins fan. I'll take your bets, but I don't need to hear that type of stuff. Gumpy, how are the phone calls going, like, when you answer them? Pretty good. I think we've done more phone calls today in the last 2 days combined, mostly because the phone call board the last 2 days didn't work.
Right. Remember when I told you it was working fine on break there?
Yeah.
It's down again.
Attaboy, Gumpy. I mean, we're figuring it out as we go. Here's something that I would like to be figured out. The challenge rules of the NFL.
Yeah.
I would like this to be figured out. I would like the challenge rules to be figured out. And I know it's like old school. I walked uphill both ways to school and that whole mindset. And let's not change the game at all. It's a soft game. Oh, we're going to have robots running things. I say, why not?
Sweet.
I say, why don't we just adjust the technology? I say, why are we continuing to put these refs in a terrible spot to get booed out of stadiums and to potentially get their lives threatened whenever they make a mistake? We have the ability to cover every single square inch of the 100-yard field, 53 1/3 across, 10s in the end zone, everything. We have the ability to cover everything. Literally, Elon Musk can send a spaceship up to the sky, to the moon, and it comes back and lands on a single piece of paper. We have the technology to be able to help these refs out. I think we're hindering it a little bit. I think we're delaying the inevitable. Okay, the pass interference challenge, it was challenged 54 times during the preseason. I think coaches were literally just like, let's see if we can just steal a quick 40 yards on this pass interference. It was only overturned 4 times. Or 7 times. Seven times. It was only overturned 7 times. Not a big overturn. But if it's not overturned, I think they should lose their challenge. But if I challenge a holding on the offensive line, which is a 10-yard penalty, by the way, a holding on the offensive line, which happens every single play, every single play it happens, it's strictly a judgment call by the umpire, whether or not he wants to call it. That is a guaranteed drive stopper. Now, there might be somebody who picks up a 1st and 20 or a 2nd and 25, whatever it is after the holding call. But if it's a terrible call, why don't we give the opportunity to the coaches or to the people up in the booth to challenge that as well? And if they get it wrong, you lose your challenge. You get it right, though, keep it. They say, well, you got to get both right to get another challenge. It's like, if I challenge it and I'm right, why am I being punished at all? I think we should utilize the technology that we have. Everybody's like, well, wait, it's going to slow down the game. It's going to slow down the game. The only thing that slows down the game is when you make 80-year-old refs run 90 yards to go stare at this tiny little screen in the corner with a hood and they have the headset on. There's no reason to have them do that. Every single stadium now in 2019 has a 75-yard 4K television that is literally directly up. If the refs were just poke their head up, there is a 75-yard, sometimes, and Jerry Jones is 90 yards long, and it is a 4K TV. You know, like, well, how will they have control of it? Easy. Just have a replay ref in the booth with the stadium operator, and then you put the little headset on, which they're already mic'd up, by the way. They already have little mics on. They're already talking to each other. Why don't you just have them go, hey, holding offense number 74. Ref goes, or coach throws the red flag, pulls it out of his sock probably. I love where they keep them. It's just so insane. Throws it out there. And the ref jogs over to the coach slowly, because they are old, walks over and goes, what are you challenging? I don't think that was a hold. He's like, all right. Nowadays, since you can't challenge a hold, but you get it. Let's act. He would have to turn then, do a couple of stretches, and run literally 90 yards to the opposite side where there's this tiny little screen. Why don't you just have him use that earpiece that's in his ear with the microphone, have somebody up in the booth where he just goes, hey, did we fornicate that hold call up right there? Did we mess that up completely? And the guy's up in the booth who's like, I don't know. Why don't you just peek your head over at the Jumbotron real quick? And the entire group just looks up at the Jumbotron right in front of the coach. They replay it, and the guy that's running it is an NFL official, so he's running the replays. And they go, yeah, we did actually, didn't we? Yeah. Hey, we messed it up. We'll get rid of that holding. Oh, thank you. That's what was that, 35 seconds?
Yeah, it's quicker than it is now.
Everybody in the stadium knows before the people staring at the little monitor who need to know. I just think we can expedite this whole thing. I mean, we can really speed this thing up. Now, granted, they like the commercial breaks because you can sell more money and blah, 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 blah. But if the conversation is, well, it slows down the game, let's expedite that. Let's get the calls right, because nobody's pulling for the refs in any of these stadiums. I haven't seen one fan of the ref. They either hate them or love them for making a mistake either for them or against them. Let's give the refs a shot. Okay, let's give them a chance to get things right. Let's challenge everything. Let's get Elon Musk on the case. Let's go ahead and laser the entire field as if it's a tennis court. We'll know if he's in. We'll know if he's out. Get a guy in the booth. Run it. Or lady.
Yep.
Or lady in the booth. That was on me. I just meant it as a... Yeah.
The collective.
Run the Jumbotron. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's fix the game. Let's put these refs in a better position. And let's utilize technology that mankind has created.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory.
Can't do that. That's going to cost us a lot of money.
Dang it.
Pope, if you're watching, that was for you. All right, that's been the show. Never forget September 11, 2001. And we'll see you tomorrow morning from a box truck. Maybe. I don't know. You've been listening to the Pat McAfee Show.
We are good. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.